Okay, guys, so I'm back in the next video. If you've checked out the last two ones, you've heard about how I was really struggling in my life as a teenager. I was seeking all kinds of other things to try and fulfill my identity. And you heard about how I confessed and gave my life to Jesus without really knowing what I was doing. And you also heard that through a traumatic experience, a very strange traumatic experience, I'll say, not a typically traumatic experience, I will say, that I ended up feeling dirty and dunking myself in some water. So if you haven't checked out the last two videos, go ahead and go back, check out the last two so you can be fully caught up into what I'm talking about now. But without further ado, here's the rest of it. So I was laying in my bed and I hear this voice and it says to pick up the pamphlet of John and start to read it. So I began to read this pamphlet of John and I'm stuck. I'm stuck on the first chapter, the second chapter. I don't remember all of it right now, but I know I was gradually working my way through reading this. Now, I was raised until I was 9 as a Catholic. I had had limited experience with the Bible. In fact, I remember when I was probably 13 years old, something like that, that I was at a sleepover at a friend's house and I found a Bible and I ended up reading through the entire book of Revelation by myself at this sleepover with probably 14 other kids. I found a corner and I started reading this. And I remember just being like, wow, this is crazy. And that's really the extent of my biblical understanding. And so I'm reading through this and it's talking about who Jesus is. And as I'm reading it, I am hearing, not audibly, but I'm hearing in my head, kind of in my heart, I'm hearing and I'm understanding this and I have to describe this. It's a new way. I was able to understand that it was something different, okay? So when this voice was speaking to me, it wasn't audibly, like I said. It wasn't necessarily in my mind. It also wasn't necessarily in my heart. It was kind of just inside of me, and it was something new. But like I said in the last video, it was something that was familiar, and it was sure, and it was confident, and it was safe. And so I'm listening to this voice, and the voice is assuring me that what I'm reading about Jesus is the truth. And so I'm literally reading through this Bible and I'm taking in the truth about who Jesus really is. And I'm starting to feel peace in my heart. I'm starting to feel assurance in my heart. I remember one time I was actually reading a part in the Bible where it talks about the pool of Siloam. And I finished reading because my mom called me. It was just the end of summer. My mom called me down for lunch. I ran downstairs and my stairs emptied out right next to our TV. And so as I was turning the corner to go to the kitchen, I hear the word Siloam. And I stopped in my tracks and I was like, what is that? And I turned and I looked at the TV and my mom had the news on. And the headline on the news was Pool of Siloam just discovered in Jerusalem today. I began to freak out. I told my mom, I just read this. You know what? When you stumble across an incredible coincidence that is just personal to you, it's almost like sharing an inside joke. Like no one understands what you're talking about. You're laughing, no one else is. It was kind of one of those situations. I was freaking out. I had just read this thing. My mom has no clue what's going on, but I'm super excited because all of a sudden, again, what I'm reading is all of a sudden manifesting and coming to life in reality. And so not only am I hearing this voice and it's explaining and assuring me that what I'm reading is true, but I'm also looking at the TV and now the TV is testifying that what I'm reading is true. And so I'm freaking out. I'm overjoyed. I'm like, wow, I think I'm actually stumbling upon the truth. And so I continued to have those reading encounters to where Jesus began to reveal himself to me and really started to believe that Jesus is the Christ. Now, There were some other things going on at that time while I was discovering who Jesus was. I began to get some new friends. Interestingly, friends who were part of churches, who actually seemed to really know who Jesus was, who were actually real Christians. I'll share about that part in the next video. Just keep hanging on. I promise you this is worth it. If you're still struggling with anxiety, depression, all these things, just hang on. And I'm going to share something amazing with you to tie it all up as we keep going. So tune into the next one, guys, and I'll share it with you. God bless.